Hey guys, today I want to review another one of my outreaches. A great learning experience for me because this guy, he was watching the footage that we were displaying at one of these outreach events, and he just turned to me and he said, "Why vegan in it?" From there, it was a real roller coaster ride with this guy because he was straight away so opposed. He was so opposed to the vegan message. Let's get into it. I've got some opinions on this. I've got some ideas of extra things I want to add and react to in this video. So let's go.
Vegan, innit?
Yeah. What's your opinion?
Why you guys don't like meat? I don't know.
Well, it's a lot of it is because of what we're showing here.
So I don't know if he's just saying it out of kind of an expression of like, I don't understand the overall philosophy, or if he really means like, I have no idea why you would not want to eat meat. I just want to remind you, I didn't get a chance to actually say this in the video. I should have, but it's always worth like revisiting what veganism is. Veganism is not just refusing to eat meat. Veganism is about minimizing rights violations towards sentient animals, right? Living a lifestyle which minimizes the harm and rights violations towards sentient animals. I'm a vegan because I believe that animals belong to themselves. They don't belong to me. They are not mine to interfere with. Of course, some of it can't be avoided. For example, accidental deaths of insects. But it's about striving. It's about trying, at least trying to live in a way that minimizes the violence. I can actually put up on screen here the actual definition, the original definition of veganism, which I think is a brilliant, very pure statement that is very hard to disagree with, I think. And this is why I kind of regret not actually going through this with him. People are fighting against a different thing altogether. They imagine in their heads that veganism is some kind of aesthetic choice, that vegans find the concept of meat disgusting, that vegans are lily-livered, pansy hippies who have naive notions of the world, and none of that is true. I haven't met many vegans who are like that, because vegans are actually willing to face this truth. Anyway, let's keep going.
Footage we're showing.
Half the stuff is all lies, so I don't believe all that.
I don't know who told him that, but like, how would we be able to fake this footage? That's what I want to know. This can be footage from the UK. You can go to a documentary like The Land of Hope and Glory, or you can go to a documentary like Pignorant. You just got to think, it's like with the moon landing conspiracy theories, like it would be harder to fake it than to actually do it. Yeah, anyway.
All the years we've been eating meat, and suddenly you want to go vegan. I don't understand the realistic of that.
I've never been approached with that. It's an argument made from ignorance because it's just not true. There were vegans centuries before me. It's always been a problem. Slavery of any creature has always been a problem. It's always been an issue on the lips and in the writings of thinkers. You know, the real like key thinkers of our time, since going back to Aristotle, they've always talked about it, you know, Descartes, Bentham, Kant, Immanuel Kant, you know, Peter Singer in more recent times. You know, Singer was writing about this stuff before I was born, you know, and that's modern veganism. But anyway, it's not that veganism has just sprouted out of nowhere and we've suddenly decided to do it. It's the first time he has found out about veganism, right? That's the answer, but of course I couldn't think of what to say at the time.
Well, maybe in previous history we weren't able to go vegan.
Not true. People have pointed that out as well, not true. But it's like, we could be more charitable, have a more charitable explanation of why someone in the Middle Ages who didn't have any education, whose entire source of education was from the church, we can be more charitable as to why they weren't thinking and discussing these things. And that's kind of what I mean when I say they weren't able to go vegan. I'm not saying that they physically weren't able to go vegan, or even that there weren't practicing vegans in history. There were. Al-Mari was an ethical vegan 1,000 years ago. 1,000 years ago, he was a poet, an Arabic poet who wrote about veganism, right? Took an ethical stance on veganism. They existed, but I'm saying we can understand why this hasn't taken off until now. In time post scarcity, when we have supermarkets, an abundance of food choices that are shipped from all around the world, we live in a globalized world, we can understand that now is the time where veganism is really taking off.
And if it was a wrong thing doing, and the government would have stopped it a long time ago, which isn't wrong because it's bringing in money, agriculture, tobacco, liquor.
So I'm letting him talk here. I'm just letting him go. He's got things on his mind. He's got things he wants to say. Clearly, he's got a lot he wants to say. He's on a roll now. And I'm listening. I'm taking it in because, first of all, people like this want to be heard. Like, he's expressing something. He's expressing his values, what he values, which is very kind of politically charged, conservative, pragmatic. He thinks he's being pragmatic. And this is what I'm trying to do. Like, on my best days as an activist, I'm not just kind of reading off a script in my head, going off of a formula. I'm learning, I'm reacting, and I'm changing my approach on the go, like during the conversation. It's difficult, but I love doing it because it can be like a chess game, you know? And a good chess player will adapt their approach to a conversation. If they're trying to be persuasive, which I am, of course I'm trying to be persuasive. I'm trying to persuade this guy to live a more peaceful life, a life without violence, right? This is tough because he's very different from me. You'll see me first make a few reflexive comments, but then afterwards I managed to adapt. Let's have a look.
That's where the money comes in.
Oh, that's interesting. Okay, yeah.
Why is it so suddenly so wrong?
So I'm saying, yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, that's interesting. I'm not agreeing with him. I'm not saying he's right. I think he's horribly wrong. I think it's absolutely backwards. You couldn't find someone who's more diametrically opposed to me. But I'm saying you are being heard. I am hearing you. I'm hearing what you're saying and I'm taking it on board. So he's saying, why? You know, why is it so suddenly so wrong now? And I wish I had just said, it's always been wrong. You know, that would have been the easiest way to just address that and just be like, it's always been wrong. It makes no difference when you discover something to be wrong as to whether it was wrong in the past. People don't like me using the slavery one, but like slavery has always been wrong. Even before we were enlightened to that. When everyone thought it was right, it was wrong. It makes no difference when you wake up to the moral error of your ways. Whether a society wakes up, I should say.
Why?
Well, you know, we live in a democracy, right? So it has to start with the people. It comes from public opinion. What the government does, the government doesn't act without the consent of the public.
So you're saying the government is not doing the right thing then, no?
Well, right now, people are uneducated about this. They're not aware of this. They're not aware of how their meat is sourced.
So this is an angle I like to take with people who are disinclined to agree with the vegan message, you know, disinclined to agree to a lifestyle that minimizes violence towards all creatures, right? And they're out there and they have emotional hang-ups about veganism, particularly with the word veganism, not with the principles, but with the word veganism. I like to take a bit more of a benign approach or a bit more of a softer approach, which is like, don't you think people should know how their food is being sourced? Because right now they don't. We're talking to people on the street and they don't know. It exists and is perpetuated on the ignorance of consumers.
So all along you thought now was the right thing to bring people's attention to this, to make them educate now, when all the years it's never been a concern of anything. Why suddenly change now? I don't get it.
You could have said the same thing about slavery. You could have said the same thing about...
Slavery does not come in context of this. Slavery...
People hate it when I bring up slavery, but I think I'm going to keep doing it because the thing is, we enslave animals. We are a civilization who enslaves animals, right? That's just a fact. I mean, how can I could try and dance around the issue if you like, but the reason you don't like me saying it is because it makes them uncomfortable to actually realize that we enslave species that are not our own. Right? We used to enslave our own species, members of our own species. Now we don't. But we've always been enslaving members of other species. These animals are not free. They don't even have the rights to their own bodies, as we see most prominently in the dairy industry, but also in the meat industry. If that isn't enslavement, I don't know what is. Anyway.
Could have said the same thing about civil rights movement when that had happened. You would have said, why is it all of a sudden now you're thinking about civil rights?
See, it becomes ridiculous the moment I apply it to any other moral issue. Why is that? Right? So any other moral issue, when I apply his argument, where I fit his argument into it, it becomes ridiculous. You wouldn't say women's rights. Why now all of a sudden are the suffragettes piping up about this topic? Well, because now's the best time. Like, is a better time than any other time. It's better than the future, right? It's better than talking about it, like just putting this issue off 100 years from now. Just no time like the present.
You guys thought of it now, when all along you went with it and said, yeah, it was all right to eat.
No, we've had this for hundreds of years. You know, Jeremy Bentham, that was over 100 years ago.
So this channel, I got to put his name up on screen because I can't remember the fucking name of it. He was like, oh, you shouldn't have mentioned Jeremy Bentham. You know, you shouldn't have mentioned Jeremy Bentham because he's a utilitarian bad. Yeah, I understand that. I'm not a utilitarian either. But the things Bentham is quoted for in Animal Rights, he's speculating on animals one day having rights. Like, rights, not like the calculation of suffering, pleasure, pain kind of thing. No, he's talking about like, maybe one day we'll have animal rights. So that's why I kind of credit him speculating upon it, like predicting veganism, essentially, and rights-based veganism at that. And also making the really important determination that it's not intelligence that should separate whether we treat someone terribly or to treat someone nice. It should be on their ability to experience and having the interest in their own lives. I still stand by it. I think Bentham is a good one, but of course, there are older ones than that.
I was talking about issues of animal rights. Yeah, it's been slow to start, but now it's going. And look, I know you probably don't like to hear this, but it's going to keep going.
I love saying this to people. If you think that veganism is going to fade out, and you just assert that, you just make that assertion, you have to have a theory to back that up. Like, how do you theorize that veganism will go backwards, right? That less people become vegan. Whenever we get a chance, we're out here, 5-minute conversations with people, and they're like, oh my God, I didn't know that happens to animals. I think I should try Veganuary. I think I should try Challenge 22. And they do it, and then they take the pledge at the end, and then they're vegan, right? And this is happening all the time. Boop, boop, boop. People have been lied to, and they're waking up. They're waking up to it. The dissemination of information, the internet. Information is democratized now, it's free, and it's accessible worldwide. And these truths are coming to light for everyone. How do you envision it stopping? How are you going to keep the lid on these lies? You have no plan.
Veganism is going to keep going until it's a mainstream thing, and then meat eating is going to be a thing of the past.
Products in the shops are going vegan. A lot of stuff is changing rapidly.
Yeah.
But it ain't gonna happen.
Did you see the shift? He said, meat is here to stay. It will stay. Anything changed recently? And then he says, well, it has changed, but it's not going to change overnight. He's just made a tactical retreat there. At first he was saying it's never going to change. And then he's saying it is changing, but it's not going to change overnight. It's going to take time. Right. That's a tactical retreat. Okay, let's keep going.
No, it's not going to happen straight away. We're here to ensure that it's happening faster than it is.
Meat cannot die. Meat still will be on the plate. Meat still will be eaten. Meat still will be there.
If he says that like meat consumption is going to exist in some kind of way, maybe it's just like in tiny little rural communities far away from cities and things like that. Like, sure. Is that really a win? Is that really a victory that like we're never going to like fully stamp out this act of violence? Like,
for example, do racists exist? Yes. Will racists always exist? Yes. Does that mean we shouldn't try to be less racist? No. Does that mean it was a futile or wasted effort to eliminate apartheid and civil rights movement and abolish slavery? Of course not. Just because you can't stamp something out completely, you can't stamp out a bad ideology or a bad way of life, does not make the effort futile.
The majority of the world are going to reason their way towards veganism. They're going to become better educated. They're going to want to live healthier, happier lives. They're going to have an imperative to reduce their impact on the environment, and they're going to widen their circle of compassion to accommodate other species, as we've already been doing with elephants, rhinos, whales, species that once we disregarded and now we don't. It's going to keep happening. It's going to keep expanding. Why wouldn't it? For you to say that, like, well, it's going to exist in some form, that's a win. You're trying to, like, snatch victory from the jaws of defeat by saying, well, you can't stamp it out completely. It's an appeal to futility, and I don't buy it.
Own opinion to what you want to do, that's fine. But meat is still there.
Yeah, for now.
Yes. It's always going to be there. It's not for now. It's not for now.
It's hard to imagine the future, isn't it?
No,
it's hard to see a picture of the future.
That's what you guys can't imagine. But for me, the picture is clear. Meat is to stay. And
Denial. Just denial.
That's where agriculture belongs.
Do you feel threatened by this? Do you feel threatened by what we're doing
It's not
here?
threatened. It's just that you guys don't have an issue to deal on about, and you guys are just bringing in stuff like that.
Are we threatening your way of life?
No, you're not.
No?
That thing cannot change
Because you
my
see,
life.
it seems like you're quite upset by
I'm
this.
not upset. It's just the way you lot going on about, drilling on about stuff that doesn't even exist.
Yeah, he finds it annoying, right? He finds it annoying that we're trying to change things for the better. He's annoyed at it. And he's saying that it doesn't even exist. Well, clearly it does.
Why you want to bring it into people's attention now? All the years you couldn't be bothered, and suddenly you woke up.
This says, you see, this says a lot more about him than it does about me. You know, this says a lot. This reveals a lot about his attitude to the whole thing. And I'm starting to realize that I'm listening very, very, very carefully. And I'm finding he's revealing himself. He's revealing his attitudes, his prejudices to me, right? All the years you couldn't be bothered and suddenly you woke up. So he's thinking that first of all, we did this on a whim. We do this because maybe we enjoy it, like we get a kick out of it, instead of it being like having a sense of duty and obligation and something that we really thought through very much. That we're lazy, that we're not industrious, that we're not hardworking people. You know, all the years you couldn't be bothered. He's building a picture of what he thinks animal rights activists or vegans are. That we're perhaps unemployed. He hasn't said that outright, but I would imagine that's what he probably thinks. That we're young, so we might be delinquents. He's building a picture, and he's being very transparent with it. You know, this is just a stream of consciousness thing for him.
Woke up and you thought, oh, okay, we're going vegan. Why does it make sense now?
How long do you think I've been alive for?
Conversations are messy. I don't have the perfect answer. But I am just thinking, all these years you couldn't be bothered. It's like, I'm a young guy. Like, I got to this as soon as I possibly could, which is as soon as I made the connected things together. Oh yeah, this is a dead animal that I'm eating, and that animal didn't want to be enslaved. This is the milk of a cow that was intended for her calf, and they put that calf in solitary confinement and stole that milk from the cow. The cow didn't give that milk. The cow's milk was stolen from her. It was coerced and enslaved, and they stole that milk, right? We steal these things. We violate these animals so that we can get the products, because we're using them as objects. When they're not objects, they are subjects, right? When I started making that connection, as soon as I made that connection, I didn't just go vegan, I became an activist, right? I went the whole way. Anyway, how long do you think I've been alive for? Not the best question, but whatever. I'm trying to just make me into a real person to him, because right now, you know what I mean? Like, he's not seeing me as a real person right now. He's seeing me as a liberal caricature. That's how he sees me. And I'm just trying to say, like, how long do you think I've been alive for? Like, you know, let's ground your understanding of me, who you're talking to here.
I got on this issue as soon as I could.
This guy on the left is wanting to butt in. I find this, he's a nice guy, he's got good intentions. Vegans have the temptation to pile in on conversations. Guys, if you're a vegan, if you're an outreacher, don't pile in. One at a time. Like, if I'm talking to one person, you know, and he's heated and something, don't worry, I can handle it. Go and talk to someone else. We should never have a 2-on-1 thing with like 2 vegans against 1 anti-vegan, 2 vegans against 1 non-vegan. Don't do it. So I just made a little hand signal to him, like, I've got this.
Look, I'm not here to judge about how long you've been alive for. I'm on about how long you think this is going to go on for. Till people think it's going to be a stupid idea and they're going to walk away from it. It's just a hideous idea, isn't it?
What's a hideous idea?
About all this, going vegan. Why?
About us enslaving and raping and killing animals?
Killing animals isn't been...
So yeah, I just wanted to flip that on him. Like, I find that weird that he says like it's a hideous idea. Like, it's a hideous idea to be standing up for animals who are being just fundamentally disrespected. Like, how do you make that kind of matrix loop in your head? Like, how do you make us out as the bad guys? So at this point, yeah, appealing to history, basically. We've always killed animals, that point.
Happening just yet, is it? It's been going on for years and years, isn't it?
Yeah, does that mean make it right? People have been
It's been happening for years and years. Yeah, does that make it right?
causing wars for years and years. Does that make it right? No, I'm just trying to give you some perspective on the
Animal
matter.
slaughtering is bound to stay and it will stay.
It's going back to
Without
his
any
robot.
duration, no one's going to change that.
Yeah, zombie.
Government, Rishi, or...
I think so far he's brought up Rishi Sunak. Oh, right, okay. He really likes Rishi Sunak. One of the only people I've met who actually seems to like Rishi Sunak. He's in a very small group in the UK, a group of people who trusts the government. That's an ever-dwindling group of people in the UK.
Sunak will do anything about it.
Well, he doesn't need to. I won't let him do it anyway. Because he's got our back.
Yeah, that's fine.
Because we know agriculture is the right thing to govern.
So I didn't get the chance to say this at the time. He says agriculture is the right thing to govern. Yeah, sure. Agriculture is great. What about the plant farmers of this country? Why aren't you thinking of them? Why aren't you thinking of the potato farmers or the cabbage farmers, the myriad of other plant agricultural people, right? We're not saying to abolish the agricultural industry. We're not saying to even reduce the agricultural industry in this country. We're saying to change its nature to plants. It respects the rights of animals. It minimizes our impact, our violence towards animals by going the agricultural route.
We're slowly but surely changing a public opinion. What if we reach a majority vote? We live in a democracy, right? What would happen then? Then you'd be in the minority.
I wanted to say this because of the thing he said where he's like, I won't let Rishi Sunak do it. And I just remind him, like, we live in a democracy. And this is out of your control. This is out of your hands. If you're an anti-vegan watching this right now, like, this is not something you get to control. Like, you don't get to control, first of all, the dissemination of information. Who learns about what? And you also don't get to choose the decisions they make, whether political, whether consumer buying decisions. You don't get to choose that.
I don't mean to sound threatening to you. I don't want any of this to threaten your way of life.
The problem is Rishi knows what he's doing, and the Minister of
Blah, blah, blah.
Agriculture knows
Rishi-
what they're doing.
Rishi
So
knows.
this ain't going to change nothing. Your opinion is their opinion, and yeah, that's fine.
Keep telling yourself that. Yeah, stick your fingers in your ears, la, 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 la. Keep telling yourself that, oh, nothing's going to happen. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine. Yeah. Meanwhile, shops are changing. Vegan options getting introduced to every major food chain in the country. Burger King, McDonald's, the big ones. Every supermarket has a vegan aisle, and it's growing. It's growing, right? Yeah, keep telling yourself nothing's going to happen.
Fine.
You know, so I'm a vegan. Do you think I live a vastly different way of life to you?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
Just a breathing human being like you. That's it.
Yeah.
It's just a
Do you think
different way.
what do you think I do on a daily basis?
I have no idea.
Yeah, I actually probably when it comes to food and things, I do exactly what you do. I go to the shops, I buy meats that look like chicken, burgers, whatever I want, anything. Yeah.
This is a really, really important point to get across to them, is that it's not that hard. You might not think to say this, but a lot of people think that it's like really difficult to live a vegan lifestyle. And it's not. It's not when you take away the excuses and you stop feeling sorry for yourself, you stop treating yourself like the victim. We go to the same supermarkets as everyone else, right? We shop at the same supermarkets. We just go to the aisle next to it.
The only difference is I source mine from plants. So I don't eat dairy, I don't eat meat, and I don't eat fish.
No, but that's your opinion, isn't it? Plant-based food is okay, works for you, but for me it doesn't work for me.
Why doesn't it work for you?
Because it's not the same.
I want to help you with that.
No, you can't, because nothing can help.
I actually love that explanation he gave when I said, why not? And he said, because it's not the same. And that's such an interesting answer. He's not saying that it's because of any health reason or that it's because of any taste thing. He just said because it's not the same. I mean, maybe that implies that they taste slightly differently. Okay. Boo-hoo, it tastes slightly differently. But his answer was because it's not the same. He wants things to stay the same. Because change is scary. Change is scary. He's got a good thing going right now. He's got a good government job and he doesn't want that to change. But the thing is, he's not the victim. As soon as you start thinking from the victim's point of view, change becomes really urgent.
I can only help myself. If I can't help myself, no one else can help me.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
I can't change him. And that's really important for all those people who are saying I'm forcing my views. I can't decide what you buy in the supermarket. That's your choice. I'm trying to help. He can only decide to accept help from someone if he decides to. I'm not going to force help. I can't force anything. We're just having a discussion.
Putting the thing, everybody needs to change for themselves.
Yeah, that's true.
And I can't adapt to that because that's not me. It won't be me forever.
What is it that you
Because
find so
vegan
objectionable?
stuff, I mean, it's not genuine. I mean, it's not the right way forward. I mean, meat is meat. You know, meat is meat. And you know, dairy.
He's just scared. Meat is meat. He just wants to stick with what he knows. Meat is meat. That's why I like meat, because it's what I know.
Dairy.
Do you think we get anything out of this besides helping the animals? Do you think this is a social movement that benefits us in any way?
No.
Because like we don't earn any money out here, by the way.
Again, I'm trying to ground myself as a real person with real motives. Teach him about me and teach him about vegans, because there's so much he doesn't know about vegans that he's invented in his mind about the way we are.
We're doing this for free, and we're only doing it because we care about their
Why are you doing
well-being.
it for free? That's why.
Someone who votes Conservative, someone who votes for Rishi Sunak, loves on Rishi Sunak. When he hears that I'm doing this for free, he's probably like, what is going on? You know? He can't imagine doing anything for free.
Things for free in life.
No, I'm here. I'm doing this for free. Trust
You
me.
don't get paid.
No, I run a business
Blowing
full
his
time.
mind right
I'm
now.
taking time out of that business. I could be making money right now, but I'm not.
So why are you not then?
I have enough. I know that's a crazy thing to hear in this day and age.
Look at him laughing so much when I say that I have enough, that I'm fulfilled, that what I'm doing now is in service of others and not in service of myself. Look at how that was the side splitter for him, the thing that was so absurd, like he could only laugh. Decide for yourselves what to make of that. Make of that what you will.
I know, that's crazy, isn't
If you
it?
don't want me asking, what's your business background? What do you do?
He doesn't believe me here. He's like, what do you do?
I sell training courses to animators. I'm an animation professional. I sell training courses to animators online. It's just
Credit to him, he straight away realized, like, okay, that's legit. It's too much of a niche thing to actually disbelieve.
a self-made business. I'm a one-man business, limited liability company. I've been doing it for 7 years. Yeah.
Why not go to do that then?
I could be making more money, but I'm not. I'm
Why
here.
you don't want to worry
That's a
about
very
doing
good
that?
question.
So, I'm just trying to prepare this thing in my head for what to say, because he's saying, like, why are you doing this selfless thing instead of this selfish thing? And I didn't have an answer prepared, but I'm trying to, like, prepare one in my mind, so I'm kind of stalling for time.
That is
Why? Why do you
I'll
do
tell you why. I'll tell you why. I practice empathy. I'm also trying to self-improve. I'm trying to minimize my...
That's actually how I got into veganism, is by self-improvement. As well as the body, I've always gone to the gym, I've always worked out, but also improving the mind and practicing this kind of intellectual rigor and honesty, self-honesty. So not shying away from certain topics. A violent topic that I don't necessarily want to understand, because a lot of people say, I'm not going to watch that documentary because I know that it will change the way that I eat. That if I do watch it, I'll be burdened with the knowledge. Part of my self-development was not shying away from these questions, of confronting them head on. And that's how I made my way into veganism. That's why I said about practicing self-improvement, and also just not wanting to have a guilty conscience.
live a life that doesn't involve the needless suffering of others. If I can eat plants that's not going to cause the suffering of others, I will do that.
I use the word suffering here. I know that a lot of people will object to that because it's utilitarian language. For you philosophers out there, I'm more of a threshold deontologist. So nowadays I would sooner go to rights. I'm a big fan of Immanuel Kant, and that's kind of my leading philosophy. I believe that Kant's inalienable human rights, I think I said that right. We should recognize the inalienable rights of other species as well. These should be negative rights, I believe, rights that don't interfere with an animal's autonomy, but that don't necessarily grant them autonomy. For example, I don't think that animals should be allowed to drive. That's an example of like not a negative right. A negative right is like you can't kill an animal. But that's more of my stance now. So for anyone who's a nitpicky philosopher out there.
You understand what I mean? I don't think you want to cause suffering to others either. I think you're a decent person. You're respectful.
I'm appealing to his ego here. You know, often the ego is something that is a barrier to new ideas. If you frame it right, you can actually appeal to one's ego in order to persuade them to be more peaceful, you know, less violent. And that's something I want to see more, especially directed towards men, because typically, not always, but typically, men are proud of being able to commit violence. The male ego can be appealed to when we're thinking about defending the weak. That's my way in for the male ego, defending the weak, defending the vulnerable. And men should take pride in that if they are defending the weak and vulnerable, and it's something that we can capitalize on as vegans. Anyway.
We've been talking here, you've been very respectful to me. And I think that shows this base level of empathy, a base level of sort of mutual respect and understanding.
I mean, I'm laying it on a little bit thick here. He wasn't exactly respectful to me. He wasn't exactly considerate of the vegan position. At the same time, like, he hasn't struck me, has he? He hasn't, like, walked up to me and punched me in the face because he disagrees with me, right? Why is that? Why didn't he just punch me square in the face the moment I opened my trap? And it's not even that he would get arrested or that I would punch back. I think he still wouldn't hit me. And the reason for that is because he recognizes that I'm an individual that doesn't want to be punched, right? That doesn't want to be hit. And that we all benefit from non-violence, from a kind of shared treaty of non-violence, right?
Difference is, I apply that regardless of your race, regardless even of your species. I apply it regardless because I know that you are living your own life. Do you understand what I mean? Am I making sense, or am I just talking crazy talk?
No.
He was nodding his head, so I thought I was on the right page. I think this is really a turning point in the conversation for him. If I had started with this point, he wouldn't have listened. The order of this is really important. We build rapport. I heard him. He'd been heard. He was feeling confused and he just didn't understand the vegan position. And he thought that I was a caricature of a real person. And so it's been a journey to get to this point. It's been a real journey to reach this point where he'll actually hear me out on what veganism is to me and why I'm a vegan, why I'm doing this. And he said, "You're making sense." I can't believe it. He agreed. He didn't agree that like he'll go vegan or anything. That's the other thing. The important thing about this conversation is that at a certain point, like quite early on in this conversation, I knew there is no way I'm converting this guy to veganism. And I think it's important for outreachers to understand when they're talking to someone who just will not go vegan, right? They will not. There's nothing on this earth that can make them go vegan in that 10-minute interaction that they have right there. I knew that. Early on. He's too stubborn. Plan B. Some vegans are not going to like this, that I have a plan B, but I did have a plan B, and I used plan B. Plan B for this conversation is the dinner table scenario. Let me explain to you what the dinner table scenario is. This guy is going to go home after this, and he's going to sit down to dinner. And his wife or whoever he's having dinner with is going to say, "How was your day today?" And he's going to say, "Well, you know what? I had this conversation out in the street, actually, with this young guy. And, you know, I thought he was crazy at first. I couldn't understand his position at all. But actually, I got to know him, and I found that actually, he's a businessman. He's like me. He cares about business. He cares about money. He's industrious. He's hardworking. And he's quite practical. He's quite logical. Makes logical sense. And you know what? I ended up liking the guy. I shook his hand by the end. I said, you know, good on you, man. Good on you. And then everyone at that dinner table, they just gained a positive impression of a vegan. And sometimes that's the best you can do for some, because he's not going to go vegan. He's not going to go vegan. There's no combination of words I could use in a 10-minute conversation to make him go vegan. He's got free will. What can you do, right? But what I can do is be a positive ambassador, a positive representative of the vegan message. And that, over time, is worth a lot. Let's say he has a son. I don't think he does have a son, but let's say he has a son. And the son one day comes to him and says, Dad, I've been thinking I'm going to go vegan. He has this one positive impression that was made by a vegan in his past. And so instead of saying, how dare you, instead of discouraging the son, he could say, you know, I talked to this one vegan this one time, and he was actually a good, respectful guy. He was actually really cool, or whatever. You know, and that's the dinner table scenario. So that's different. It's different from trying to make someone go vegan or like trying to persuade them into veganism, which is realistically just not going to happen. So I'm doing the dinner table scenario here. Make him understand who I am, make him realize that it's not in line with his caricatured opinion of what a vegan is, and getting him to understand why I'm a vegan. That's all I want. I'm not trying to make him go vegan.
The industries change over time. Do you think they evolve?
It has.
They evolve, right?
Not for long.
Well, do you think that the animal agricultural industry is like this sacred industry that we can't touch, that must not evolve under any circumstances? Or do you think that the food industry, just like any other industry, can evolve, can change, can develop?
Maybe we need to find a different way of slaughtering animals, a bit less.
Oh my God, he actually just gave ground again.
Okay. Oh, well, that's good. That's progress.
See, I was very pleasantly surprised. He's saying, well, maybe maybe the industry isn't perfect. And maybe there's things we could be doing in a better way. I mean, what more could I ask? I mean, think about the journey that we've taken here in these 8 minutes of conversation. At the beginning, he said, meat is here to stay. It will stay. Veganism is a hideous idea. And now he's saying, well, maybe we should be killing animals in a different way. Obviously, that's not the conclusion I would ideally like to reach. I would like to reach the idea of like, if you like animals, don't mess with them. Care for them. You know, like if anything, we have a duty of care to these animals rather than butchering them. But still, he's saying maybe we can do it in a different way. That's brilliant. That's progress. I like progress.
I like that.
It's as a vote opinion to the ministers who we can put forward to, and let's see how it goes.
Yeah, I agree totally. So there's something there that could be made better, right?
Can do, but it takes time. It's not going to happen overnight. It's not going to happen just yet.
Yeah.
But yes, things are changing as I can see.
What a weak argument. You see how he's on the back foot. Like, yeah, but it won't happen overnight. It's not going to happen quickly. It's going to be slow. I'm thinking, well, yeah. How else would it happen? How else would this change come about?
Hey, listen, as a businessman of my own, I respect these farmers, right? Because they're running a business, right?
You've got a good venture.
And also, we don't want anyone to be left behind along the way.
That's something I really wanted to say. And so this is actually a response I had prepared if anyone who was actually from animal agriculture, you know, pig farmers or cattle farmers, approached me. Our intention is not retribution in any form at all. And in fact, we're looking for collaborations and solutions. We want to collectively move towards a form of agriculture that eliminates rights violations, ideally, and practically speaking, reduces the amount of rights violations to the greatest number of animals possible. Okay, I was applying it here, and it seems to work because as a conservative, he's thinking jobs. As many jobs as possible. Don't lose jobs. It's bad for the economy. It's bad for everyone. I didn't really get a proper chance in this to actually explain to him that like changing an industry does not mean killing an industry, right? We all got to eat. We need to keep the same output of calories, which means we need to change the industry. We're not trying to kill the food industry. Why would we want to kill the food industry? We want to change it, right? People have to retrain sometimes. They have to learn new skills to keep up with their industry because their industry is evolving, their industry's improving, right? Those people in there have to keep up with the times and the changing demands of the public. That is what you have to do in any profession. Not just in agriculture, but in any profession. It's fair to expect that of an industry. Not to die, but to change.
I mean, you got yours set up. That's fine. That's different.
Yeah.
But we guys work for government. We have to do our job.
Okay, I learned something here. He works for the government.
I think you might have got the wrong end of the stick with this. We don't want to punish
I love it. You know, straight away he's like, no, I haven't.
farmers. We don't want to punish any of these industries. We respect them.
Pride and joy. We all got a job.
Yeah. I respect the working man. I've worked very hard, you know.
You done what you made.
Yeah.
You are there now. Good luck to you. And I'm
Again, trying to address this idea that vegans are lazy layabouts, politically charged, left-wing ideologies. I'm trying to dismantle that. Most of us are employed, so we do this during our downtime. Most of us are very hardworking, and most of us are very critical. We arrived here out of skepticism, being critical of institutions that we saw that were lying to us, seeing through certain corporate propaganda. Maybe you don't like the word propaganda, advertising, seeing through the lies. That's how he reached here. So I'm trying to just demolish these stereotypes he has built up in his head.
happy what you've done. And that's really, really
Thank you.
a step up the ladder or something like that. All working along.
Yeah.
Everybody, like Rishi Sunak, I see him as a great premier. He was a great chancellor. Boris had his ways, but he was a great man. He was a good man of London.
I just thought to myself at this point, like, I'm not going to get into a political debate. I was just thinking, just nod your head. Just nod your head. Like, don't, you know. He has a government job. He's personally shaken hands with these prime ministers. And that makes a big difference to someone like him. He might have, like, shared a little bit of banter with them back and forth. And so he sees these guys as kind of friends. It's tragic in a way because they couldn't give a toss about him. You know, these conservatives don't care about anyone but themselves and their ultra rich class. But whatever.
Bojo was a great mayor of London, but being a prime minister was a mistake.
Yeah, I hear you.
Come on.
I know.
I hear you.
Someone who's pro Rishi Sunak because a lot of people
And
kind of
not
don't
being-
give him a chance.
I'm not being racist, but to see an Indian prime minister in the whole of country
Makes you proud.
It's
This kind of conversation is kind of reminiscent of the conversations I have with like my barber when he talks about football matches and I don't watch any football and I make these like airy statements that actually don't mean anything, right? You know, I say like, oh, it's good that you're giving Rishi Sunak a chance because not many people give him a chance. What does that even mean? That doesn't mean anything, right? It's not. I'm not saying to him like Rishi Sunak is an awful curse upon this country. It's not saying anything like, it's not putting my opinion into it.
not bad, but it's something to look forward to and think about that. How the fuck, you know? How did he do it?
It's like when America had Obama, you know. It's like I can understand why they were sort of.
But yeah, you're a great guy with a great background.
I appreciate it.
I think you're good. You're really good.
Well, listen, we don't want to leave anyone behind. That's what I want you to take away from.
That's like my sentence that I'm trying to keep in his head because that's the one that if he forgets everything else about this conversation, I want him to remember like vegans aren't trying to leave people behind. Vegans aren't trying to punish anyone. The anti-vegans in the comments, one guy was like, I hate how he like forces his opinion on people, how he's like, you know, being aggressive with this guy. And it's because he watched like a single clip out of this video and saw us talking passionately. You got to watch the whole video, you know, like, because by the end of this, you can see like this guy enjoyed this. This guy appreciated the discussion. He had things he wanted to say. And I heard him. I heard what he wanted to say. I listened to him and then I presented my point of view. And that's how an adult conversation works, right? We're not going to agree on anything. That doesn't mean we shouldn't talk about it, right? If I'm left wing on politics and you're right wing on politics, and your solution is don't shove your political opinions in my face, don't force this political discussion, and you stay away in your side of the camp, we're never going to reach any kind of alliance. We're never going to agree on anything. And then that's just going to divide the country into tribalism, right? We have to talk. Adults should talk. If you're an adult, don't be afraid to discuss things with people that have different opinions from you. That's how we learn, right? I really hate this kind of accusations that are given to vegans when they're like, you're forcing people to eat a certain thing. No, I'm not. I can't force you to eat anything. I can't force what you decide to buy in the supermarket. I can't knock food out of your hand, and you'll never see me try to do anything like that. So it's a misrepresentation of what vegans do. Vegans, during these things, they do everything within the law. they exercise their freedom of speech and freedom of expression, and they have conversations with the public, and they provide truthful, factual information, and then they try to encourage people down the path of actually doing something about it and not just saying, oh yeah, it's a tough, mean old world, isn't it? No, they're trying to inspire people to actually live in line with the values they already have. That value being, I don't abuse animals. Most people here don't want to abuse animals, and they don't see themselves as animal abusers, even though they take part in an industry which, at its very core, integral to that industry, is the abuse and violations, rights violations towards animals. Okay, I think I've said enough. This video is probably massive in length, but I'm going to edit it down and whatnot. So thank you very much for watching. I hope you got something out of this. If you're a vegan, or if you're a non-vegan, or if you're an anti-vegan, whatever, whoever you are, I hope you got something out of this, and I'll talk to you in the next one. Goodbye.